What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel, and on this video we are going to talk and deconstruct the false biblical concept of both the concept of fallen angels and the very pagan interpreted phrase of sons of God marrying daughters of men. I'm sure you guys have heard this. This will be a video also discussing the Nephilim. There is very much false information pertaining to this, and I figured because it has fallen angels in it and what appears to be demons and spirits and such in the way mainstream interprets this text, I thought it would be great for this Demon Devil Satan series that I've been doing. So before we begin, I want to just mention a verse that a lot of people seem to forget in 2 Timothy 4 verse 4, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned on to fables. Now, a lot of people who believe the false concept of the Nephilim, fallen angels, demons, Satan, etc., these evil spirits being possessed, all of these things are believing a very pagan Canaanite construct fable. And the whole point of the Bible was to deconstruct all these fables that people believed back then. So we're going to get into it. Now, the context, the verse that I'm talking about, if you guys don't know, is Genesis chapter 6. Verses 2 through 4, if you can flip over there with me and read along. It says, "The sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, My spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bare children to them, the same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown." Okay, so that's the verse that we are discussing today, the verse that has been so brutally full of false information, and Bible believers believe them. I don't get how you guys can listen to these people on the History Channel, all these people talking about the Nephilim, the giants, and these are Bible believers who believe them. That we have to stay away from this, guys. So the popular interpretation is, it is thought that the sons of God are angels, meaning like the spiritual angels, who became supernatural fallen angels because they were thrown out of heaven for their sin, and then they came down to earth, married with human women, resulting in them having very large children. Some say supernatural children, some say demigods, meaning a mix of human and God, or human and fallen angel. Basically, this fallen angelic race is the popular interpretation of this. Issues that arise from this interpretation are as follows. One, there is no mention at all of the sons of God coming down from heaven. We just read the text prior, and this is not in the text whatsoever. Two, why do we assume that sons of God are angels? The phrase is used concerning men who are believers, very common in the Bible. Men who know the true God. We see this in Hosea 1:10, Luke 3:38, John 1:12, 1 John 3:1. These are just some examples. In Hosea 1:10 it says, "Yet the number of children of Israel shall be as the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured nor numbered. And it shall come to pass that in the place where it was said unto them, Ye are not my people, there it shall be said unto them, Ye are the sons of the living God." In John 1:12 it says, "But as many as received him, to them gave he power to become the sons of God, even to them that believe on his name." This is talking about men. Men, of course, meaning men and women who believe in God. Now, an angel, we have to get this out of the way. An angel is a messenger from God. Someone who is bringing a message. You can have any type of message from God. You can have a message of death, a message of good news. The word in Hebrew is malek, and the word in the Koine Greek, Koine just means the word common Greek, is agalos. Okay, and this means messenger. It never meant a spiritual, supernatural demigod being. Never meant that. That is a pagan construct, you guys. Believers are made equal unto the angels. We, believers who spread the good news, who spread the gospel, who spread the truth and fight for the truth, are considered angels. It says in Luke 20, verse 35 through 36, But they which shall be accounted worthy to obtain that world and the resurrection from the dead, neither marry nor are given in marriage, neither can they die any more, for they are equal unto the angels, and are the children of God, being the children of the resurrection. This is talking about believers. The verse prior, neither marry nor are given in marriage, that is, again, if we believe in the fallen angel construct and they're intermarrying with human women, first of all, angels don't marry. Okay? Why is that so? Because our husband is Jesus Christ. The wife is the church, the body of believers. We are already in a marriage contract with Christ. Neither can they die anymore, for they are equal unto the angels. This is talking about us believers. Okay? So take away that fable definition of the word angels. Now, the Hebrew word for giants in Genesis 6:4 is also used to describe the sons of man, called Anak. We see a lot of pagan, you guys know I used to be very into the New Age movement. I used to do a lot of work with Gaia TV network and stuff like that. I was a big believer in aliens and stuff like that. This is one of the places where they got the Anunnaki. But in Genesis 6:4, it says it's also used to describe the sons of a man, called Anak, in Numbers 13:33. The word giants here mean tyrant. They were tyrants. Okay? This is a word to mean a violent tyrant, race, man, breed. That's what that means. So if we look at it in the Strong's Exhaustive Concordance, Nephil comes from Nephal, properly a feller, a bully, or a tyrant. It also means to fall or causing to fall, to cause people to come down. This is another construct of the word diabolos, to cast down. People who are bringing you down, and violence. Now, in the Encyclopedia of Biblical, Ecclesiastical, and Theological Literature by McClintock, it says here, the Nephilim, according to some of the Arabic, but better to fall, causing to fall, violent. So this is some of the definitions for Nephilim. Yet, people try to say the Nephilim, they just for some reason take the Hebrew word and turn it into something else when it was translated into giants. Over here, it says, well-beloved, and others translate and interpret the passage so as to make it speak merely of men of violence, men who beat down, oppressed, and plundered the weak and defenseless. It says down here, but these giants, as in other cases, would naturally be designated by a descriptive name, and great strength is generally accompanied by violence and oppression. So this is about a tyrant, essentially, a tyrant of people or a tyrant of a person, a kingdom. And it says here in Ezekiel 32:27, and they shall not lie with the mighty that are fallen of uncircumcised, which are gone down to hell with their weapons of war. And they have laid their swords under their heads, but their iniquity shall be upon their bones, though they were the terror of the mighty in the land of the living. If we look in the interlinear, which is where we'll find the original Hebrew text, it's the same word right there, Nephilim. Okay, and it means it's to bring down, it's a tyrant. Job chapter 22, verse 15 through 17 comments upon the same violent men. Remember, Job is one of the oldest books ever written in the Bible. In fact, I think it might be the oldest. And it says, hast thou marked the old way which wicked men have trodden, which were cut down out of time, whose foundation was overflown with the flood, which said unto God, depart from us. Notice that this refers to men, not angels, wicked men. The Israelites were aware of the existence of unusually large people, though. We've seen this. You're going to say, but Mary, there are skeletons of large people, this, that, and the third. That absolutely is true. That doesn't make them supernatural beings, okay? So we see it in the Bible. We see the evidence of larger people. There are larger sized people. There are larger sized basketball players. You know, it is a thing that still happens today. And it says the Zamzumin, the Zumin, the Raphaim, the Nephilim, the Eman, and the Anakim. The bed of Og, king of Bashan, or Rephaim, was 9 cubits long, which was over 14 feet. That was referenced in Deuteronomy 3:11. Now in Canaanite mythology, keyword mythology, These giants came from intermarriage between human beings and the gods. This is what believers in the Bible are believing, guys. This was Canaanite mythology. This is not biblical truth. But Moses in Genesis 6 is addressing that myth, keyword myth, and correcting it, because all the myths, really, because so many myths came from Egypt, and Moses is working to correct that. He's saying by implication that this didn't happen, but rather the godly seed and the wicked intermarried. And yes, at that time, there were giants in the earth, but they were judged and destroyed by the flood. And the implication surely was that the Israel who first heard Moses' inspired history could take comfort that the giants they faced in Canaan would likewise be overcome by God when they were going to fight them. They were so scared. They said, this is such a great people. We aren't as great as them. They are tyrants. They're huge. How are we going to fight them? How are we going to win? And this is Moses saying, well, look what happened here. So in Deuteronomy 1:28, we'll look at a few of these verses. It says, whither shall we go up? Our brethren have discouraged our hearts, saying, the people is greater and taller than we. The cities are great and walled up to heaven. And moreover, we have seen the sons of Anakims there. They're saying, these people are too big for us. In Deuteronomy 2:10, it says, the Emims dwelt therein in times past, a people great and many and tall as the Anakims. And in Deuteronomy 2, verse 20 through 21, it says, that also was accounted a land of giants. Giants dwelt therein in old time, and the Ammonites call them Zamzumims, a people great and many and tall as the Amalekites. But the Lord destroyed them before them, and they succeeded them and dwelt in their stead. Okay, so this is talking about they're being intimidated. They have a bigger city. They have a bigger people. They have more people than them, and that's what that's talking about. But many believers continue to deify. Isaiah 44:6 and many other places all over the Bible, we've talked about this before. There is only one God, and besides me there is no other. Therefore, belief in half human, half celestial beings in any point in time is a belief in demigods. It's a belief in other gods. It's not a biblical construct. It's not a biblical truth. It is a pagan myth. It's a Canaanite myth. I want to note here that it is also especially worthy of note that these are ascribed to a similar parentage, half human, half celestial. Their famous deeds have been immortalized by their deification in every profane system of religion. Okay, so those who claim to be Bible believers, those who believe in the true God, the one and only God, cannot believe in this system. Okay, this is a pagan construct, a pagan myth, a pagan fable. And this was really, really common Jewish theology. This is why sometimes it seems like it's truth, because you can see them in older writings. You can see them, we talked about before how the NIV claims to have an older text from Alexandria. Just because the text is older does not make it more accurate. Okay, so apostate Christians were here since the beginning of time. There have always been two ways to go. The way of the Lord, or the way that is not the Lord, which is every other way. The Bible talks about this. He is the narrow way, the small way, and there are so many other broad ways that people can go to where we see things to blame our sin on. We see, oh, well, I'll blame it on Satan, or I'll blame it on possession, or evil spirits, or I have feelings, I have dreams, and blame it on these things. And this was part of apostate Jewish theology that mixed with Canaanite pagan theology as well. Now, the etymology of the Nephilim, the giants, this was interesting. This was just on Wikipedia, a very simple search. And I wanted to share it with you guys. And it says, the meaning of Nephilim as giants holds that proposed etymologies of the word are all very precarious. Many suggested interpretations are based on the assumption that the word is a derivative of Hebrew verbal root NPL, which means to fall. Robert Breaker Girdlestone argued in 1871 that the word comes from a hyphal causative stem, implying that the Nephilim are to be perceived as those that cause others to fall down, which is very ironic considering it goes with the bully and the tyrant thing, and it also reminds me of the Greek word diabolos. Ronald Hendel states that it is a passive form of ones who have fallen, grammatically analogous to pakid, one who is appointed, deputy or overseer, or a seer, one who is bound as in a prisoner. But the majority of ancient biblical translations, including the Septuagint, the Latin Vulgate, and others, translate it as violent ones, And Aquila's translation has been interpreted to mean either the fallen ones or the ones falling upon their enemies. So it never meant, nor should it ever mean to the believer, that it is demonic fallen angels, which the term fallen angels doesn't appear in the Bible ever, not once, intermarrying with human women and having a weird born race of demigod children. Now, the term to fall biblically, so let's explain that more, means to, in different senses and in different contexts, means to lose authority, to perish, to cause to fail. We see this in 2 Samuel 1 verse 12, 2 Samuel 3:38, 2 Chronicles 29:9, Psalm 36:12, Isaiah 59:14, and many others. The sons of God refer to those with the true understanding of God. The sons of God of every generation have kept themselves separate from the people of the world and are warned by God not to marry such people, meaning pagans, people who follow heathen ways, because they will influence them away from following the true God. And that mixing that comes in creates an unclean race, essentially. So we see that in Exodus 34:12, 15:16, Joshua 23:12 through 13, Ezra 9:12, 1 Corinthians 7 verse 39, 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 16. And it is truth marrying a lie. That's what that means. We also see a lot of false biblical teaching on this concept too, regarding these previous verses that I mentioned, in regards to interracial marriage. This has nothing to do with interracial marriage, be that white and black, or white and Hispanic, or be that German and Spanish, or German and Polish. Okay, so we see that a lot in a lot of different denominations as well. That has nothing to do with anything. A believer should marry a believer. That's what that's talking about. So let's look at some of the verses. It says in Exodus 34 verse 12 through 16, "Take heed to thyself, lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land whither thou goest, lest it be for a snare in the midst of thee. But ye shall destroy their altars, break their images, and cut down their groves. For thou shalt worship no other God, for the Lord, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Lest thou make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they go a-whoring after their gods, and do sacrifice unto their gods, and one call thee, and thou eat of his sacrifice. And thou take of their daughters unto thy sons, and their daughters go a-whoring after their gods, and make thy sons go a-whoring after their gods." This is talking about a believer not to marry, have a covenant with, an unbeliever, a heathen, a pagan. Because you were the mother of that child. When you bear children, once you're married, will have to teach the children the proper way. So who you marry, the mother is going to teach the children the way of the pagans, the way of the heathen, not the way of God. And it'll continue, and it has continued until today. Ezra 9:12 says, "Now therefore give not your daughters unto their sons, neither take their daughters unto your sons, nor seek their peace or their wealth forever, that ye may be strong, and eat the good of the land, and leave it for an inheritance to your children forever." So let's go back to Genesis in 3:15. It describes how the seed, the descendants of the serpent, would be in constant conflict with the seed of the woman. We see that in Galatians 4:29. Galatians 4:29 says, "But as then he that was born after the flesh persecuted him that was born after the spirit, even so it is now." And in Genesis 3:15 it says, "And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." This is talking about the two ways, the two races, essentially. And by race, I am absolutely not saying like the black Hebrew Israelites, or the people who think the real biblical Hebrews are only that of darker skin. Any of that stuff is nonsense. By race, I mean God's race and the opposite of God's race. That's what I mean. It has nothing to do with color of skin. It has nothing to do with where you came from, anything. It has to do, did God birth you or did God not birth you since the beginning of time? Okay? The early chapters of Genesis highlight the fact that there were two sorts of people. The descendants of Seth call themselves by the name of the Lord. This was in Genesis 4:26. and comprise the righteous sons of God, the seed of the woman. And in contrast, the descendants of Cain are described as being associated with murder. Genesis 4:23. The names of these people imply that at this time they started an alternative apostate system of worship to replace the true worship of God. We can think of Babylon here, which angered God. Cain named a city after Enoch, whose name means dedicated, and Irad means eternal city. Mehuel means God combats. Lamech means overthrower of the truth, perhaps. The sons of God marrying the daughters of men would therefore describe the intermarriage of these two lines, of these two peoples, these two races, so that only Noah and his family were the seed of the woman at the time of the flood. So that's what that means. If you're listening to anybody who is talking about race in terms of what we define it today, there's a lot of race controversy going on. None of that matters if you're a believer. If you're a believer, skin doesn't matter, your heritage doesn't matter, genealogies don't matter, ancestry doesn't matter, nothing matters. What matters is if you're a believer. That's what matters. On a side note, when I was researching this, I thought it would be fun to share with you. In Genesis 4:25, it says, "And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For God said, She hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew." And this to me was a descriptive way of describing exactly what happened. God slew Israel, his first chosen people, and now we're in the New Testament church. And this is basically what happened right here. It was a shadow versus the very image. So it was foreshadowing this, and this, Genesis was written way before any of this stuff even happened. So it was really, really, really cool to see. And it really spoke to how divinely inspired the Bible was, or is written. And I thought I'd share that with you guys, if you kind of get my connection. Now, the two lines merged. Okay, so the line of Seth, the line of Cain, God's people, and the people, the children of disobedience, not God's people. And God flooded the earth, not to destroy any angels or demigod angelic race that all these people try to say. Because remember, angels cannot die. I referenced that verse in Luke chapter 20, verse 35 through 36. But therefore, no point in flooding the earth to destroy them. Okay, so God didn't flood the earth to destroy an angelic race. That's what a lot of people say on the History Channel. These men with these white beards and suits on who think they're great scholars. It doesn't matter. Okay, this biblical truth comes to those who are believers and have to study and look for it. So that's not true. That's not why God flooded the earth. Now, sons of God equal men. Okay, like you and me, human beings. Now these men corrupted the true way of God. The end of all flesh, mankind has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. That was in Genesis 6:13. The violence on the earth, which verses 3 through 5 associate with the apostasy of the sons of God, arose through man, not angels or the devil. And they had filled the earth with violence. Another reason God brought the flood was because the earth had become corrupt. And why did this happen? It was corrupt because all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth. And this was written in Genesis 6, verses 11 and 12. So in Genesis 6:13, we says, "And God said unto Noah, The end of all flesh is come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth." And in Genesis 6:11 through 12, it says, "The earth was so corrupt before God, and the earth was filled with violence. And God looked upon the earth and beheld it was corrupt, for all flesh had corrupted his way upon the earth." So we see that this is tyrant men, violent men, okay, people who mixed God's way. And we have to know what God's way is. What is the biblical definition of way? Well, men had corrupted the true way of God due to the sons of God who understood the way, mixing and intermarrying with the people of the flesh. The way is a phrase used to describe the true understanding of God. Now, this corruption of the way by the sons of God in Genesis 6 is commented as well all the way in Jude verse 11, where the apostate Christians of the first century are likened to those men who went in the way of Cain, not the way of truth, not God's way. Cain was the father of the seed of the serpent line. So Jude 11 says, Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain, and ran greedily after the error of Balaam for reward, and perished in the gainsaying of Kor. Now Genesis 6 verse 2 through 5 says, that the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and they took them wives of all which they chose. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. There were giants in the earth in those days, and also after that, when the sons of God came in unto the daughters of men, and they bore children with them. The same became mighty men which were of old, men of renown. And God saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, not wickedness of angels, fallen angels, and that every imagination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. Now, if we jump over to Luke 17, we're going to compare verses. Go to Luke 17, verse 26 through 27, and we read, and as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man. They did eat, they drank, they married wives, they were given in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and the flood came and destroyed them all. The uninspired book of Jubilees, written about 150 BC, claims that Noah complained to God about the unclean demons, leading his grandchildren into sin, and asked God to judge these demons, thus resulting in the flood. That is just mere fantasy. A lot of people want to have me do videos on the book of Enoch and the Apocrypha. That was not an inspired text, okay? That is all traditionary text. This is mere fantasy, and quite the opposite of what the Genesis record states, where clearly it is human wickedness which leads God to judge humans. So in Jubilees 10 verses 1 through 7 that I just mentioned, it reads, and in the 3rd week of this Jubilee, the unclean demons began to lead astray the children of the sons of Noah, and to make error and destroy them. And the sons of Noah came to Noah their father, and they told him concerning the demons which were leading astray, and blinding and slaying his sons' sons. And he prayed before the Lord his God, and said, God of the spirits of all flesh, who has shown mercy unto me, and has saved me and my sons from the waters of the flood, and hast not caused me to perish as thou didst the sons of perdition? For thy grace has been great towards me, and great has been thy mercy to my soul. Let thy grace be lifted up upon my sons, and let not wicked spirits rule over them, lest they should destroy them from the earth. But do thou bless me and my sons, that we may increase and multiply and replenish the earth. And thou knowest how thy watchers, the fathers of these spirits, acted in my day. And as for these spirits which are living, imprison them, and hold them fast in the place of condemnation. And let them not bring destruction on the sons of thy servant, my God, for these are malignant and created in order to destroy. And let them not rule over the spirits of the living, for thou alone canst exercise dominion over them. And let them have no power over the sons of the righteous from henceforth and evermore. And the Lord our God bade us to bind all. Okay, stay away from the Apocrypha, guys. Some of it is very historically, great and accurate, but it is not an inspired text. Remember, the Bible tells us to do so in 1 Timothy 1:4. It says, neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies which only minister questions, rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. A lot of believers tend to forget this verse when it comes to demons, Satan, and verses like these that have a very mystical, very Grecian, Canaanite taste and flavor to them. I hope that this was a concise video that really gave insight onto what that verse means, God's sons of God marrying daughters of men. And with that being said, I will conclude this video. Comment down below what you guys think, and I will see you guys in a next upcoming video. Thank you so much for watching.